The Zarthian hunting party descended through Earth's atmosphere with practiced silence. Their ship's cloaking systems bent light around their vessel as they approached the African savanna. Commander Zrel had chosen this planet carefully. The species called humans appeared soft, slow, and remarkably fragile, perfect prey for the Zarthian blood trials. Zrel's mandibles clicked with satisfaction as he studied the holographic displays. Humans had no natural weapons, no claws, no venomous bite, no armored hide. They couldn't even run particularly fast. According to their preliminary scans, humans were so vulnerable they had to wrap themselves in artificial coverings just to survive their own planet's weather. "Deploy observation drones to Sector 7, Zrel commanded. "Find an isolated human. We'll study their defense mechanisms before the hunt begins." The drones scattered across the landscape, their sensors sweeping the terrain below. Within moments, they located a target, a lone human male walking through the grasslands. He carried a pack on his back and moved with the unhurried pace of someone who belonged there. Most curious of all, a small black and white creature waddled beside him. "What is that animal?" asked Hess, Zrel's second-in-command. Their database searched and produced results. "A honey badger, native to this region. Classification, Mustelidae. Mass, approximately 9 kilograms. Zrel's secondary eyes blinked in confusion. 9 kilograms? The creature was barely larger than a Zarthian's foot. "Why would a human travel with such a small companion? Is it a juvenile?" "Negative, Commander. Adult specimen. They appear to have a bond. The human periodically offers it food and water." This puzzled Zrel even more. In Zarthian society, the strong consumed the weak. This human was clearly larger and more powerful than the small creature, yet he treated it with apparent care. Perhaps humans were even weaker than they appeared if they needed companionship from such tiny beings. "Continue observation. I want to understand their vulnerability before we proceed." The human and his small companion traveled for another hour as the sun climbed higher. The Zarthian drones followed at a distance, recording everything. The human stopped frequently to examine plants, to drink water, to rest in the shade. He moved with no sense of urgency, no awareness that he was being watched by apex predators from across the galaxy. Then everything changed. The Zarthian sensors detected movement in the tall grass. A large feline predator, what their database identified as a leopard, stalked through the vegetation. It had spotted the human. Its muscles coiled as it prepared to attack, moving with the deadly grace of a natural hunter. "Fascinating," Zrel murmured. "We'll observe how humans defend themselves against planetary predators." The leopard burst from the grass with explosive speed. The human turned, his eyes going wide with surprise. He stumbled backward, clearly too slow to escape. Zrel leaned forward, expecting to see teeth and claws tear into soft flesh. Instead, the honey badger moved. The small creature didn't run away. It didn't hide behind its human companion. It charged directly at the leopard with a guttural snarl that seemed far too large for its body. The leopard, easily 5 times the badger's size, actually hesitated. The honey badger didn't. It launched itself at the leopard's face with absolute fearlessness, claws and teeth flashing. The leopard reared back, swiping with its massive paw. The blow connected, sending the badger tumbling through the grass. Any reasonable creature would have fled at that point. The honey badger stood up, shook itself, and attacked again. "By the void," Hess whispered. "That creature has no sense of self-preservation." The leopard tried to bite down on the badger, but its teeth couldn't penetrate the loose, thick hide. The honey badger twisted in the leopard's grip and bit down on the larger predator's nose. The leopard yowled in pain and released its hold. The badger didn't relent. It went for the eyes, the nose, the face, anywhere vulnerable. Its movements were pure aggression, no defense, no retreat. The human had recovered from his initial surprise. Instead of running to safety, he grabbed a thick branch and ran toward the fight. He shouted at the leopard, waving the branch, adding his voice to the chaos. The honey badger continued its relentless assault, and the leopard suddenly seemed to realize it had made a terrible mistake. The great cat broke off the attack and fled into the tall grass. The honey badger pursued it for several meters, still snarling, before the human called out to it. The small creature stopped, turned, and waddled back to its companion. The human knelt down and carefully examined the badger for injuries, his hands gentle despite the violence they'd just witnessed. The honey badger accepted the attention, then promptly lay down in the shade as if nothing unusual had happened. Zrel stared at the display in absolute silence. His hunting instincts, honed over thousands of years of evolution, screamed at him. Every predator in the galaxy knew the fundamental rule: assess the danger before engaging. That tiny creature had violated every principle of survival, and it had won. "Run that data again," Zrel ordered. "Show me the moment of attack." They watched the footage 3 more times. Each viewing revealed more disturbing details. The honey badger had thick, loose skin that prevented bites from reaching vital areas. It had resistance to venom, according to their database, capable of surviving bites from some of the planet's deadliest snakes. It could heal from injuries that would kill most creatures. And most terrifying of all, it possessed an absolute refusal to acknowledge danger. But that wasn't what chilled Zrel to his core. It was the human's reaction. The human hadn't seemed surprised by the badger's behavior. He'd been startled by the leopard, yes, but once the badger engaged, the human had moved to support it. Not to save it, not to call it back, but to fight alongside it. This soft, vulnerable creature had run toward the danger because his small companion was there. "Commander," Hess said quietly, "if humans bond with creatures like that, if they choose companions based on fearlessness rather than strength." Zrel didn't need him to finish. He understood completely. The Zarthians had misread everything about humans. They'd looked at the lack of claws and fangs and assumed weakness. They'd seen the soft skin and slow movement and assumed easy prey. They'd failed to understand that humans didn't need natural weapons because they created their own. They didn't need armored hides because they built shelters and tools. They didn't need to be fast because they were patient and persistent. And most importantly, they didn't need to be naturally fearsome because they befriended the creatures that were. What kind of species looked at a honey badger, a creature that fought cobras for fun, that attacked lions without hesitation, that literally couldn't be taught to back down, and decided to make it family? Zrel accessed Earth's information networks, something they'd avoided before to prevent detection. He needed to know more. The data flooded in, and each piece of information made his decision clearer. Humans kept creatures called dogs, descended from wolves, that would die protecting their families. They domesticated cats, natural predators, and lived with them peacefully. They befriended horses, powerful animals that could kill with a single kick. Some humans even kept bears, sharks, and crocodiles as companions. But it went beyond animal bonds. Humans themselves showed the same pattern. They ran into burning buildings to save strangers. They threw themselves on explosives to protect their companions. They explored hostile environments, deep oceans, frozen poles, the vacuum of space itself, not because they had to, but because they were curious. They were persistence hunters who could track prey for days without stopping. They were endurance runners who could outlast any animal on their planet. They healed from injuries that would kill most species. They adapted to every environment on their world, from deserts to Arctic tundra. And when threatened, they didn't just fight back. They remembered. They planned. They organized. They built weapons that could crack planets. Their history was filled with wars that devastated their own population, yet they kept fighting, kept surviving, kept pushing forward. Humans were the honey badgers of the galaxy. They just wore clothing and smiled. "Abort the mission," Zrel commanded. "Recall all drones. Erase all data regarding Earth's location from our navigation systems." "Commander?" Hess stared at him in disbelief. "We've traveled for cycles to reach this system. The blood trials are unnecessary." Zrel's voice carried absolute authority. "We hunt for honor and to test ourselves against worthy prey. There is no honor in attacking a species we don't understand, and I understand now that we never will." He turned to face his crew. "Look at that human. Look at the creature he walks beside. That badger weighs 9 kilograms and drove off a predator 5 times its size. It did this without thought, without hesitation, without fear. And the human didn't just allow this. He ran to join the fight." Zrel's mandibles clicked slowly, a gesture of deep respect among his kind. If humans choose companions based on courage and loyalty rather than power, what does that tell us about humans themselves? If they bond with creatures that never surrender, never retreat, never submit, then humans are the same, only more so. They have intelligence to add to that fearlessness. They have technology to enhance that persistence. They have imagination to make their determination infinite. He looked back at the screen, where the human was sharing his water with the honey badger, both of them resting as if they hadn't just faced death together. "We wanted to hunt the weak," Zrel said softly. "We found something else. We found a species that makes family of the fearless, that walks calmly through danger, that treats the void itself as something to explore rather than fear. We found a species that doesn't just survive their world, they befriend it, all of it, even the parts that try to kill them." He input the commands to set course away from Earth, to strike the planet's coordinates from every record. "We will tell the other clans, Earth is forbidden, not because humans are dangerous, though they are. Not because they're powerful, though they will be, but because there's something we never expected to find." "What's that, Commander?" Hess asked. Zrel watched the human and the honey badger disappear over a hill, both walking side by side into whatever came next, fearless and together. They're the kind of prey that becomes the predator if you're foolish enough to attack them. And worse, the kind of predator that becomes your friend if you're wise enough to leave them alone. The galaxy doesn't need us to hunt humans. The galaxy needs us to hope humans never decide to hunt us. The Zarthian ship turned away from the blue planet and vanished into the darkness between stars. Behind them, a human and a honey badger continued their walk across the African savanna, unaware they'd just changed the fate of their entire species. The honey badger didn't care, it never did. And that was precisely what made it, and the humans who loved such creatures, the most terrifying force in the galaxy.